तो वैभव स्क्रीन से वो फिर कैमरा ऑन आप भी कर लो।
Are we live?
Yes, we are live.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to ACM ICPC Asia West Final. And we have Aryan and Ashwant with us today. And teams have already started solving the problems, and we have four distinct problems solved already, with half of the teams having solved the easiest problem. Um, so, yeah, Aryan, would you like to share anything about today's problem set?
Like problem set hopefully will be balanced. Like we have tried to maintain that, and like as we can see so far, the easiest problems have been solved. Like we expected XOR and same sum to be the easiest problem of the set, and it's reflected from the submissions so far. And the next were co-workers. One to nim is also easy, but it does has a lot of it has some if else cases based on that, and only one team has solved it so far. And like as a problem set, I liked it. So let's see how what the participants' feedback over here is.
Do we have a very diverse problem set today? Like, do we have problems from several topics, or is it? Uh,
The problem set is diverse. We have one geometry problem, we have mathematics, we have like PNC and all, we have DP, we have one data problem on data structures, and some
mhm.
cakewalk problems based on some observations. Like
And
when we started, it was just DP everywhere, but in the end, we were able to have a set with at least one thing from each stuff.
nice. Yeah, well, we can always use problems for future contests. So good to have some nice middle level, like fifth, sixth problem type DP problems, I guess. So,
Right.
um, cool. And which problems have you set today for the
No,
contest?
no problem for today's one. Like
Okay.
I had some problems from last 2 years, but I exhausted most of them in online contests and Amita could be using.
Okay. So who are the setters for today's contest? Who are the people who have set the problem?
Like Jatin Yadav was initially the problem setter of half of the problems.
Mhm.
Right now, probably like Jaren is a problem setter for history. For perfect string, it's by Jatin. Red black tree is by Jatin. Minimize median is by Nissan. Same sum was by Flamestrom, Arul. Like he's a setter of before contest on Code Forces. Tree election is by Jatin. Intersecting paths is by Jatin. Strange keyboard is also by Jatin. Co-workers is by Sevel. One to Nim is again by Jatin. Zorda is by Sevel.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, looks like Jatin has set almost the entire thing.
Like he's also the chief judge. So yeah. And
Nice.
like he had really nice problems, and when he proposed, we were like they are instantly approved for the contest. Like there were some more problems from him. We will use it for later.
Yeah, hopefully we can have him on the stream today.
Yeah.
Um, all right. Would you like to discuss one of the easier problems or something? I guess people are watching the stream, so it might be useful for them to know.
Yeah. Just give me a minute. I will just share my pad on the screen.
Yeah, I think at the end of the stream we can also discuss the problems and It will be useful to
For
have
now,
them.
probably we can just discuss the statement of XOR die.
Uh, Okay, so we have n six-sided die with non-negative integers labeled on each face, and the numbers are not greater than 10 power 6. So it is guaranteed. It would be guaranteed that all numbers are distinct for each die. And if you roll all the dice, then the XOR of the n numbers on top is always divisible by d. So you need to kind of output a construction for the given constraints. Can you talk more about the problem and what it involves?
Like problem is the easiest problem of the first easiest problem of the set. The idea is to probably if we can sum like it's written that all the six integers on the dice should be distinct, but it's nowhere written that all the dice should be distinct.
Mhm.
So if we can somehow come up with the dice, like for any combination of set, if we throw it, it's always divisible by d, then we can just use it everywhere.
Okay.
Now
Yeah.
coming up with such a configuration of dice will be a tricky part.
Mhm.
And like one easiest observation which people see is like, how about let's just pick all the multiples of d?
Mhm.
But like it may not always work. For example, if you pick d equal to 3 and
Mhm.
3 6 as the integer, then the XOR of 3 and 6 is 7, which is not the multiple of, no, it's not 7, 5 I believe, 6 or 5, 4 plus 2 and 3 plus 2, yeah, so it's 5, it's not a multiple of 3. And under the given constraint that it can be proven that there exists at least one of the solutions. and
Uh,
and although the constraint says that n is less than equal to 10 and d must be less than equal to 60, one hint for the participants, like it was solvable for some bigger constraints as well, like n1e5, numbers d up to 1e6, and numbers up to 1e18.
mhm.
But writing a checker for it is also a tricky part because participants can output anything. We just have one possible solution which makes this problem solvable.
Yeah, that makes sense. And uh, I mean, it's really important to ensure that the checker has no bugs. It is very easy to mess up
Like,
checkers sometimes, I guess, because
uh,
usually while setting problems, right, we focus a lot on um generating uh, tests. I mean, people do that all the time, but I guess there are very few problems that require checkers. So people are
yeah,
not.
like
So there are bugs
same
sometimes.
case was with the setter. Like when he proposed the problem statement. He said one possible solution, but he did not think about the checker. So yeah,
Yeah. So way back, I think it was 2016, ICPC Amrita Guru. I think Jatin was probably participating in that one.
okay,
And right before the contest, so we had a geometry problem for which
okay.
the checkers are always tricky for geometry problems, right? So we found a bug at the very last minute, and but the problem was printed out. So yeah, we had to kind of lose that problem because the contestants already saw it. Um,
Yeah, like so this tree is a geometry problem in the set, and like Joren, the setter of this problem, spent a lot of time in creating the problem statement. And like
mhm,
one of the statement which he first made when he joined our discussion channel was
mhm.
reminder to self, don't set constructive computational geometry problems. Now I have to solve three tricky geometry problems instead of one. Because when you have computational geometry problem, one has to solve the problem statement as a checker, like what should be the checker. To ensure that the input constraints are correct, one has to also solve the validator.
Mhm.
That itself is a problem to solve, and then obviously a solution which participants will also solve.
Yeah,
And
agree.
like and our past experience with them is that we have many times lost geometry problems because writing their checker or validators was a difficult task. And
Yeah,
floating points always remains an issue because for integers we at least understand like how does overflow and everything works. Understanding the same for geometry is not for floating point integers is not easy task. And to be honest, I don't know.
yeah. I think it will be an interesting contest today overall. And I think there are a lot of uh, medium hard kind of problems, I guess, in the middle of the set. So the good teams are going to have a nice time, I think, trying to figure those out. So yeah, let's see how this goes. How many? Do you have any predictions for today? How many problems do you think we'll have solved towards the end?
Like unless a team has someone who loves geometry, basically they won't touch history. And perfect string is the hardest problem of the set,
Hmm.
but it might get solved if someone is too good at PNC. And
Right.
apart from that, rest of them will be definitely solved in the contest.
Yeah, makes sense. I think perfect strings. Uh, Probably teams would only touch it if they are done with the rest by.
Like the
Yeah.
problem issue is the problem statement is too small,
Hmm.
and like if someone reads it and he's too good at it, he'll probably keep thinking about it. So I may not get surprised if someone just solves it within 5 minutes. Like the problem statement, like the code is just 10 line of codes, apart from coding factorial, inverse factorial, and everything. So the code is way too short, and once you solve it on paper, you are pretty much done.
Yeah, I like these kinds of problems because it doesn't involve, a lot of grunt work in just implementing. So yeah, these are the nice ones, I guess. And but I guess coming up with such a nice but hard problem is very non-trivial. So
Right. And like kudos to Jatin for that. Like he has very consistently maintained a high bar with respect to problems, and he have consistently set very interesting problems.
mm, yeah, and I think we don't usually give credit to people who organize these competitions because I mean you need to set some bar. If you dilute the bar even once, then it is very easy to let that slip over time. So I
Right.
think it's great that we are kind of trying to maintain a high bar for what problems get into a contest.
Right. And probably we can discuss the problem statement of same sum as well. So the problem statement again is simple. Like unlike the ICPC tradition where the problem statements are supposed to be lengthy, we have tried to maintain that all the problem statements are too short. And if you look at them, like probably most of them would be limited to 2 to 3 paras only. And here the problem statement is simple too. You are given a binary string of length n. You have to find 4 distinct indices.
Mm,
Two of them should belong to index 0 and two of them should belong to the character 1. As that sum of indexes of character 0 is equal to sum of indexes of character 1.
I see.
And like how many teams have solved it? I guess at least half of them have solved it. And one note to the people who are on stream, like the ones who know FFT, the problem is almost immediately solved. Like there is a standard solution using FFT, and like we were happy, like at least one team solved the second easiest problem of the problem set using FFT. Like there is one submission using FFT on this problem.
And it got accepted.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. And can you describe the FFT solution a little bit?
Okay. So just give me a minute.
I mean, I guess it boils down to how do you kind of maintain this condition.
Like the idea is, if we look at all the indexes of one, then
Mhm,
using FFT, we can find what all possible sum of pairs are there. So we can do it separately for index 0 and index 1.
mhm,
And then we can first find the smallest index, which have at least one pair from 0 and at least one pair from 1.
mhm.
And once we know that number, we can just iterate on the complete string in order and to find I and j here.
Okay, I see. I see. Yeah, I think that's very interesting. I mean, I understand that there would be a trivial solution to this as well, but
Like, yeah, like there is a problem on code forces. Like probably it goes by name Rusty string. Or, I don't know. Like if you just search it with FFT tag, strings tag, and on code forces, you will get that problem.
oh,
It was D1D at least 5 to 6 years ago. But if you have the same problem now, it will be probably D1B at max. And with everyone using the template,
hmm.
we will see it.
um, yeah, but I think coming up with the insight here is
Right?
not that non-trivial, but I think it's kind of interesting for a second problem in a contest. So I think we can leave it for the viewers of the stream to kind of try to figure out.
Yeah, for now we can do that. Like I will probably discuss FFT solution too, because I wanted to do, and I will also discuss the intended solution.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. I think we'll be live for some more time, and I think we can take a short break in between while the middle problems get solved. Um,
Like I have a pad, so I was just trying to check if I can cast my notepad.
I can also remove my screen share.
Nee, like you can remove once, but I just wanted to check also.
Okay,
I guess I will have to figure out first. I will test it once and then.
you are muted if you're trying to say something.
Oh, sorry. So, like, looks like someone in the comment section on YouTube has a solution to Samsung.
Mhm.
And also, if people want to add something, like, we will definitely look at comment sections on a regular basis. And right now, probably we can start by saying who all has solved the problems, who was the first person to solve the problem.
Sure.
So, let me just fetch those. Like,
Okay. So we have paradigm shift, by the way, at the top of the scoreboard. They have solved four problems, and currently they are trying red black grid. And close behind them within a 5 minute time penalty app is silent three whatever. So uh, yeah, they also have four problems.
Okay, 1 second. Okay, okay, 1 second. So first, we got first AC in just after 11 minutes, 12 minutes into the contest. It was
Okay.
by team ICPUC,
Mhm.
and like let me just also fetch. It's the team from IIT Roorkee. They
Mhm.
have solved three problems so far, and they are at fastest team to solve all the three problems and are at rank 5 right now. The second problem was solved by CU Unpredictable 3207.
Mhm.
COU Unpredictable. Like, okay, the ICPUC solved XOR Dice. COU Unpredictable 3207 solved same sum.
Mhm.
It's a team from Comilla University, and they are at rank 35 right now, which with two aces so far.
Mhm.
The third problem to get solved was coworkers, renegades, and it's Punjab University College of Information Technology. That's the only problem they have solved so far, and they are at rank 43.
Oh,
And like 1 2 nim was also solved. Let me just look at who was the first to solve.
okay. So I need to drop off for a bit. um,
Okay.
I'll be back in some time.
1 2 nim was solved by BRACU pros, and it's the Barak University.
Can you share the problem page? I'll then leave the meeting for a bit.
Okay, once. Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we have with us Jatin Yadav, who is International Grandmaster on Code Forces, has been Code's Smackdown finalist 2 times, and last time he was the winner among the Indian category. He's also the chief judge of our today's contest and Amritapuri regionals and online round as well. And he's also the coordinator of Indian IOI training camp, and he's the chief judge and manager, and he also teaches people over there, a coach in IITC as well. Jatin, would you like to say something more about yourself?
Yeah, I guess that pretty much sums it up. And we have an interesting contest here. So about halfway through, we are about halfway through, and about half of the problems have been solved. So yeah, I guess everything is going fine.
Yeah. And Jatin is also the problem setter of around 6 to 7 problem of today's contest. So Jatin, would you
Yeah,
like to say
six
something like
problems.
how did you came up with those ideas and these interesting ideas?
Right, right. So there are basically two ways to come up with problems. One is that you come up with solutions and then form a problem around that solution, or you come across some nice trick and you try to form some problem around that solution. It rarely works out. And another is that you just think of something random and then try to solve it. And if you are able to solve it, you try to mold it into a programming contest setting, right? Like
Right.
you choose constraints so that only few solutions, the solutions that you intend can pass and others cannot. Uh, yeah, mostly the way I come up with problems is I just think about some random problems and try to solve them. So basically, and also you can sometimes you see some problem and you try to think of its variations, and that also leads to problems. Like if you see a problem where they're using say Manhattan metric, and then you try to solve it in the Euclidean metric or something like that, right? So you try variations of problems that you come across, and that also sometimes leads to new problems.
Like
But in
you
this
have
set, I think all of the problems are basically just started from scratch, more or less.
like if I recall correctly, you have also solved more than 700 problems on Project Euler. Does this help somewhere sometimes?
I don't think I have solved 700 problems on Project
Okay,
Toilet.
like then that Jatin might
Uh,
be someone else. Okay.
right, right. But I enjoy solving math problems. So I have solved. So that's basically how I got started with this competitive programming with Project Toiler itself. So yeah, so Project Toiler is fun. So those kind of problems I really like, and you also sometimes look for different formats. It gets boring to stick
Just
with the
code
same
it.
format, code forces, at coder or whatever. And
Right.
Project Euler is kind of different in that sense that they have a fixed input on which you have to evaluate something, and you can do whatever you want. You can parallelize if that helps you to come up with a solution,
Mhm.
like to come up with the answer faster or something.
So, any problem which you would like to pick up for today's discussion right now? Like we will
So
obviously go
right,
through
right.
all, but
So which ones have we gone through already?
yeah, like we haven't discussed solution of any of them yet. We have just
No, no.
discussed some of
Like
them.
problem descriptions we have discussed for all of them,
Like
or
no,
some.
we just discussed the easiest one. Like probably we can start with one to new one. Like we haven't discussed that as well. And looks like
Right, right.
we
This
got
is
a lot
kind
of
of
them.
a troll problem, and it's quite interesting also.
So
So
I will read the problem statement for the
right, right, yeah.
participants.
Go ahead, yeah.
Spars and Grundy are playing a game. Like problem statement name is one to new, and the problem description goes like this. Spars and Grundy are playing a game. There are n piles of stones, 1 to n. The ith pile contains AI stones. A standard setting for any name game over here. And the variations mostly happens is how people pick up the stones or how moves are played. So the problem statement also defines what is called a move. Choose a non-empty pile and remove any non-zero number of stones from it. Formally choose some I where with AI greater than 0 and choose J which is between 1 to AI and then replace AI by AI minus A. So it's also a standard way. Nim game generally people pick a pile and then remove some stones from it. Now the twist in the problem statement is like the players will take alternative turns, starting with Spark first. And in Spark's terms, Sparks can only make this move only once. But in Grundy's move, Grundy must make at least one move. But he can also make a second move if there are still stones left in the remain. Still stones left. So one clarification questions I have. Is it compulsory for Grundy to make two moves always, or he can choose to make only one move? Like you are on mute, Jatin.
Right. So one move he has to make, right, at least.
Yeah.
And after he makes his first move, like in his turn, if there are still stones remaining, then he must make the second move also. He cannot choose to not make the second move. If there are still remaining, if there are no stones remaining, then he has already won the game. Because
Like
in the next line, we state that,
the player to remove the last remaining stone wins the game. Find out who
right.
wins if both players
So,
win.
so if we can win in one move directly, if there's just one pile remaining and you can remove all the stones out of that pile in one move, then he directly wins. Otherwise, he gets a second chance, right? And he must take that chance to make another move.
Okay.
So yeah,
The constraints are up to 1e5, some n is 1e5, and numbers are up to 1e9. So, like,
right.
would you like to share how did you came up with this problem? Like, it's a troll problem, so must be some
Right,
crazy
right.
idea over there.
So of course, the problem statement was decided later. The names of the players, of course, were not decided when I first came up with the problem.
Okay.
And yeah, again, I just as I was saying, you sometimes try variations of problems and you come across different ideas. So I was just thinking about the name game, and I thought, what if some player gets more moves than, like, what if it's asymmetric in the sense that one player has more power to choose, right?
Right.
Make more than one consecutive moves. And then I came up with this idea. And so initially, I was not a big fan of this problem, but when I thought of the like player names, then I really liked the idea and thought that we should use it.
Right.
Yeah. So this is a troll problem because there's this famous theorem called the Sprague-Grundy theorem, which
Right.
is quite common in computer programming. Also, you often use that, where you compute bitwise XOR of some parallel identical games and compute answers then, right? Uh, so yeah, so that's why we have kept the name Sprague-Grundy. It has nothing to do with the Sprague-Grundy theorem, obviously. And yeah, so the solution is also you have to try a few cases to come up with the solution. You have to see like what kind of states are winning for Sprague and what kind of states are winning for Grundy. If you look at it, obviously we have given way more power to the second player than the first player, so it must make like intuitive sense that in most of the possible games, second player would be winning because he gets to make two moves instead of one move.
Right.
And when there are very few piles remaining, this power is just too much. So in fact, you can prove that if there are two piles which have more than one stone each, then always the second player wins. And if there is exactly one pile with greater than one stones, like with more than one stones, then there is the condition that the number of ones should not be equal to one more three or zero more three, something like that. And there is a similar condition modulo three if there are only ones in the array. If all the piles have a single stone each, then still there is a similar condition on the number of ones modulo three. So
Okay.
this is casework you have to do. And I think there are two possible ways to solve this problem. One is to kind of guess that this should be the answer and just submit. And I think most of the teams would probably do that. And or there's another way in which first you write a brute force program and then you see that okay, this is the pattern, and then you submit. Or you see the
That's
pattern and
what
then you prove
that's
that.
what yeah, right. That's what I was trying to say. Like this is the approach
Right,
generally I follow with the name games.
right.
Like
So
first
this
brute
is
force,
actually
find trendy values, and print the winning states.
right. So whenever in a lot of problems like these, it often helps to look at the small states and to iterate over all of them and see which kind of states are winning, and you could come up with a pattern by writing a brute force solution for this. And then if you want, you can prove it. The proof is also not very difficult, and then you can submit, or you can submit and you can prove by AC, I
AC.
guess. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess we have also discussed the solution for this problem. Like, okay, yeah. So, like, and probably we can take a look at scoreboard right now. Like we are half past the contest, and three teams have solved five problems, and a lot of teams have solved four problems. And probably the Manjar from IIT Patna was the first team to solve intersecting paths. And like how many distinct problems we have?
Six or
Six
seven?
distinct problems.
Six distinct problems.
Six distinct problems. Manjar has solved five out of them. And minimize medium is the next unsolved problem. And it was first solved by team Abki Bar from IIT Kharagpur. And then three of a kind also solved from IIT Madras within 2 minutes of the first essay.
Right. So I guess so at this stage in the contest, after you have solved four problems, you have a lot of problems at similar difficulty level, like the medium difficulty level. I think at least four problems we have, which should be receiving a lot of different submissions. Uh, okay, and we've just got the information that red black grid has also been solved by one team. So we'll look at that also later. So yeah, so this that is also one of the four problems, which is like in the middle spectrum of the difficulty. So we have four problems: red black grid, minimize median, and path intersection, and which one? Which one? Strange keyboard or
Strange keyword probably like okay.
yeah,
Internal distribution was more like XOR dice and XOR dice and same sum would be the first two problems. Then one, two, name and coworker would be the next two. Then we had three problems in the middle like tree erection, minimize median, red black tree, all are at almost similar level. Then we had strange keyboard and path intersection. Like we have an issue on strange intersection
right.
path.
So I guess the
And last
team
two
which was
problems
getting a
being
lot of TLEs would probably have solved
history and
this.
perfect string. Like I am interested in knowing like has anyone made any submission on this tree? Like
On
it on disk
yeah,
tree. Like it
let
required
me
a
let
lot
me
of
let me see. I highly doubt it. Yeah, no submission on this yet,
so
and I
probably
guess no
the
submission on
strategy to
perfect.
create geometry problem is make statements such that no one reads it or no one tries to submit it. So you don't have to create test cases, checker, validator, and everything over there.
Ah,
So yeah, looks like no one had made any
uh,
submission on it. So
so
like
intersecting paths, I think, has been solved by some team from Buet from Bangladesh, and yeah, they have how many penalties? I think three or four penalties on this.
okay, the
I
okay,
guess you can show that in the scoreboard also.
yeah, this one.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So they have three penalties, and let me see if they have an n-log n solution or n-log square n solution.
Right, in this problem, it's solved. It's possible to solve it in order of n log n, but
Right.
the HLD solution using log square has a time constant factor of 2 compared to n log n. So it's really difficult to separate these solutions out. And
Right.
probably
Right.
it's
So
most of the time it's open problem in computer programming. How do we separate n log n and n log square n solutions?
yeah.
Because once we have an n equal to 1 is 6, most of the times input output is also a bottleneck there.
Right. So yeah. So should we discuss some problem out of these? I think we can easiest to discuss is probably red black grid, I assume, or minimize median also we can discuss. Yeah. So let's discuss red black grid and then we'll discuss minimize median,
Okay,
I guess.
so like red black grid is
Right.
again a
So
problem by Jatin. Like, would you like
huh.
to mention how did you came up with this problem?
Right. So this is actually funny. So this problem we came up with when we were preparing the Amritapuri round.
Amritapuri reasons. Yeah,
And
probably I can also say because I was also there.
right.
So we were discussing Amritapuri problem set and trying to finalize what all problems we need. And we realized that we don't really have a constructive problem. In the meta when people call code forces is just constructive problems.
Right.
And Jatin has always said that creating constructive problem is not a difficult task. And within our discussion of 30 to 40 minutes, we came up with 2 to 3 constructive problems. One
Right.
was
Right.
red black tree, and the other
Another
one
was
was
rectangle
LIS1, LIS1 in which we use in
right.
the
Right. And
Amritapuri
rectangle intersection also, which were
or
used in Amritapuri round.
Amritapuri region. So yeah, within
Yeah.
30 minutes, we were able to came up with 3 problems.
Right.
And
So
the idea
constructive
which he
problems.
shared for constructive problem, yeah, would you like to say? Continue?
Yeah. So constructive problems are actually really easy to come up with. Basically, you think of any problem that you have solved and you reverse it, and that's a constructive problem. How would when would the answer be this? For the problem that you have solved, you just take its inverse, and that's a constructive problem. That's how simple it is. So yeah. So and a lot of times, and you can come up with constructive problems in the grid setting, and so that's how I came up with this. I was just a random idea. If we have a grid and we have to compute how many pairs of adjacent cells have opposite colors, then you can easily iterate and find that. But how would you construct a grid given the number of these adjacent pairs, right? So the problem basically formally is that you have to construct a n into n grid, n rows and columns, such that the number of pairs of adjacent cells that have opposite colors is equal to k, and the colors can be either red or black. So, and a pair of cells is adjacent if they share an edge, right? Right, like in the general setting. And yeah, and then you have to construct such a grid. So that's the problem. That's it. And the constraints are n is less than or equal to 10 to the 3. And obviously, since the output size is n square itself, so the complexity will also be somewhere around n square. Otherwise, it cannot be way off compared to n square because the output size itself is n square, right? So that's why we have these constraints. And yeah, so this is it basically. This is the problem. So if you can look at this example, we have to construct a 3 into 3 grid that has 6 pairs of adjacent cells that have different colors. Like one of those should be red and one of those should be black, and they should be adjacent. So you can see that in this example there will be 6 such adjacent cells. Yeah. So this is a problem, and the
We
solution
can
is
give probably we can give participants some time to think about.
right. Yeah, uh,
And yeah,
that's correct.
meanwhile, probably we can discuss the easiest problem, which we discussed the problem statement earlier, but we haven't discussed the solution. So the first one was XOR die, like one is supposed to find dices such that if you throw all of them together, then XOR of all the numbers on top is always divisible by d. And then it has strange constraints that n is less than equal to 100 and d is less than equal to 60. The idea for this was like probably if we can somehow make the numbers such that XOR of any subset of those numbers is a multiple of d, then we are good. Like the first trivial number to pick up is 0. Like if you take XOR of 0 with any number, it's 0. Another can
No,
be
no,
d.
it's not zero. If all of those are zero, then the XOR is zero, right?
Okay, like I was suggesting one of the numbers on dice.
Right.
Okay, yeah, but yeah, that may not work. And the idea over here was since it's 60, and if we pick up the next power of 2, which is 64, then if you pick the numbers such as d, 64 into d, and 64 into 64 into d, then if you pick any combination over here, the XOR will always, like the smallest 8 bits would be either d or 0. Next 8 bit would also be the bits of d multiplied by 64 or 0. And the most significant 8 bits would also be a multiple of d or 0. And pretty much that's what most of the participants have done, and
Yeah,
that's the intended solution.
right. And there are 8 choices because for all of these three intervals, where 64, 64 into 64, and 1 into
Yes.
D, You can either choose D or you can choose 0. So there are 8 choices. So you can choose any 6 of them to form the basis of a dice, and you can just repeat them on all the dice. Right?
The non-trivial part of this problem statement was how to write a checker. Like this is one solution we know of, but
Yeah,
participants can print any possible solution.
yeah,
Like initially when the problem was proposed, D was up to 1e5, and the numbers which can be written on dice were up to 1e18. And we realized
yeah.
that we don't have a checker for it and we reduce it. Now it's possible to write a checker which runs in n into 1e6 around 1e8 operations using a brute force solution. So yeah, dice XOR dice was among the easiest problem, and the next problem is same sum. I mentioned that it also has an FFT solution over here, and the main idea of which makes this problem easy was like if we find two disjoint places where the two characters are 0 1 and the other place where characters are 1 0, then we can just use these four indexes over here. Like for example, if we look at the input, like if this is 1 0, if you pick this 1 0 and this 0 1, then picking up the third character and the last character sum would be equal to +1 over here and -1 over here. So this almost immediately gives us that, like, if we can find such pair, then we are done with it. And if the string has less than two ones or less than two zeros, then the answer is impossible because you can't select two such characters. If a string is either a prefix all zeros and then all ones, then it's impossible. All ones, all zeros is also impossible. And probably if we want to just brute for something, what we can do is if the string contains at least four zeros and at least four ones, then probably we will find such a pair always. And if it's,
Except when all the zeros are before all the ones or vice
yeah,
versa.
right, yeah, obviously that case. And for the other case, we can just brute force all 4 into 4 combinations of the character which are smallest frequency.
Right. And the FFT solution you already discussed. Or what?
I haven't discussed it yet, but yeah,
Okay.
the idea probably, if, let me just search. Like, I probably we can just share one of the participant solution, or like I was thinking of using CRUD, but I don't have. So like the idea for FFT solution is let's create a polynomial, like for where AI is one, if the character, ith character in string is one and zero otherwise. And if you multiply the same polynomial with this again, then the resulting polynomial, the coefficient of resulting polynomial will contain number of ordered pairs, which contains number of ordered pair which contains that as a sum, and it comes from the definition of polynomial as well. Like, yeah,
Right.
FFT code process is must, otherwise we end up with. I'm looking for the definition of FFT. Looks like
Wait, why why are we going through all of this?
like I was just trying to say
Okay,
that, but yeah, then ignore it. And the
okay.
other thing would be to do the same thing for zeros, where AI is one if the ith character is zero and one at zero otherwise. And if we take the convolution of same polynomial again, we can find for each some number of ordered pairs which contains that as a multiple. And by iterating over the both polynomials, we can find the minimum possible sum over there. And let's say if once we know the possible sum like I plus j and what is k plus l, then we can iterate over the complete string to find one possible set over there. And
And we actually have a solution, like
yeah,
maybe more than one, but we know of at least one solution that has solved this problem using FFT.
definitely.
So
At least
that's
we were
clearly an overkill. Yeah.
clearly an overkill, but at least now I don't regret not naming the problem as is this FF2. Otherwise, that would have made it easy. the FFT is not supposed to be coded for this problem. Like, do we
But
know which team it
the
was?
strange thing is that for I think for both myself and Aryan, when we first saw the problem, this is the first solution that we thought of.
Right. And then we looked at the author solution where he just said find 0, 1 and 1, 0, and we are done.
Yeah, especially because when you see a proposal, you don't really know how that it is intended to be one of the easiest problems of the set. So and so my first opinion was, what is this? This is too standard, and we should just reject it because this is so well known. And then we discussed that this is an easy problem, and the solution is not uh,
Both
that
XOR Dice
this.
and Samsung were proposed by Flamestorm on Codeforces. His name is Arun Kola. So thanks to him for the problem proposal. And like both were easy, but we really liked the way they were, the problem setting over there, like the statement how they were proposed. And yeah. Next problem probably we can go for is coworkers.
Right.
We haven't even discussed the problem statement yet, so probably I will go through the problem statement once. There is a
Yep.
large company with n employees working there. All employees are numbered from 1 to n, and there are m pairs of co-workers in the company. The ith pair is formed with employee AI and BI. That means that AI is one of the co-worker of BI, and BI is one of the co-workers of AI. The co-worker setup is not commutative over here. Like if you and we are co-workers and we and W are co-workers, then it's not necessary that you and W can also be the co-worker. Now, one day, the founder of company decided to check the loyalty of employees. To do this, he gave all the problems an assignment. For the ith employee, he chose a number TI and asked him to name top TI coworkers he works with. And of course, TI cannot be larger than number of coworkers he's working with. So if I summarize it, you are given, probably if I want to talk it in graph terminology, you are given a graph of n nodes, m edges. It's an undirected graph. And for each node, we will have to pick TI adjacent pairs to it. And now comes the interesting part. After this, a pair of coworkers are friends if they both chose each other as one of the coworkers they are working with. And similarly, we call a pair of coworkers as enemy if they don't choose each other as one of the top coworkers they are working with. And the loyalty of companies counted as number of pairs of coworkers who are friend minus number of pair of coworkers who are enemy. And the problem statement asks to find maximum level of loyalty if that can be achieved if everyone chooses optimally. So would you like to say something like the setter for this problem was Sevel, who is Grandmaster of the International Grandmaster on Code Forces.
Right. So yeah, this is again an interesting problem. I guess we should give them some
Probably,
time
we-
to think about it.
probably we
And
can move on to next problem for now.
right, right, yeah.
And like probably let me just take the scoreboard again. Looks like number of teams solving 5 problems in increasing. Paradigm Shift and Jaggu Boys have just solved one of the problem. And looks like Red Black Grid is also solved now by Jaggu Boys. So shoot out Jaggu Boys team for the first team to solve open law once again. We have more problems, more teams on Red. Okay, Paradigm Shift has also solved Red Black Tree, and now we are first team to solve 6 problems. Paradigm Shift from IIT Indore. They have also won the Amritapuri regionals. And yeah, Red Black Tree is also solved by Triple IIT Hyderabad borderline. And that's the fourth problem they have solved right now. And they are at number 23 right.
Nice. I think we have probably the tree election problem is also about to be solved. So we are about to see the eighth problem to be solved. How many problems? 7 problems have been solved, right?
Yes, 7 has been solved so far.
Right. So we are probably about to see the eighth problem to be solved, and we are almost 3 hours into the contest. Yeah. Okay.
Mm.
So, okay, which problem are we discussing next?
So probably we can discuss the problem statement of tree election. So the problem statement, it's again a problem by our Chief Justice Chatin. The problem statement goes by the company X has n employees numbered from 1 to n. And for each employee, there is a direct manager assigned to him whose ID is PU. And employee with ID 1 is the CEO of company and he has no managers. Employee V is said to be a leader of employee U if V is the direct manager of U, or there is an employee W such that V is the manager of W and W is a leader of U. So if we look at it as a graph problem, you are essentially given a tree where each node has a parent to it and one is the root of the tree. And any ancestor of a node is a leader of that node. Now comes the interesting part. The company X wants to set up a work council through elections, in which every employee except the CEO will vote. But unfortunately, the elections are rigged over here, and employees can only vote for one of their leaders. So the set which everyone can vote is different for different people. Like they can't choose any of the person who is selected. And now we have to find like who all employees can be potential a winner of this election. We defined a solo winner if he gets strictly more votes than any of the other employees. And the constraints are like any sub to 1 is 6. There are t test cases to solve, and pi is less than I. And we have to print a binary string where ith character is 1 if employee I can be winner or 0 otherwise.
So, cute and short problem, I guess.
Yeah,
I,
this
I
I
guess
was
that's
discussing.
yeah,
Like in this context, we have a really short problem, which is against the tradition of ICPC to have at least 2 pages
right,
size
right,
problem
right,
set.
right. Mainly because I hate problems with long statements.
I also hate it, and during
Yeah.
my ICPC days, I used to just the part of reading problem
So,
statement. I used to just give it to my teammate and ask him to give me a formal problem statement.
right. So I think my opinion is that don't have a story unless it is natural. Don't unnecessarily add a story just for the sake of it. For example, in this problem, it's really natural to add a story and it doesn't make the problem statement too big either. And it's quite natural that, everyone can only vote for one of the bosses and whatever might be the reason for that. But yeah, so it's quite natural in that sense. But otherwise, sometimes, the problem statements like X gave Y a present for their birthday and they want to compute this. What is the meaning of that? Can't you just say that compute the number of this and this?
So like
Why give X and Y and why does Y have to get a birthday present from her mom? Why?
so I have an interesting story behind it. If you look at all the problem statements which I have created, which doesn't have a natural story.
I have actually, yeah, I actually
So
know of this, but yeah,
my problem statement is Naira got up like the problem statement generally goes like yet another tree problem, yet another graph problem, yet another array problem, yet another counting problem, something like that. And Naira, which is reverse of Aryan, Naira has got an array as a birthday project. So he does not know what to do with it. He asked Aryan for help, and Aryan gave him this problem. And then I just had a formal problem statement.
right. Yeah, I guess so. So that's exactly what I don't like. But
Yeah, so like I try to complete this part in the one paragraph, and then the next paragraph starts with formal, so people can just skip
yeah.
the first
So
paragraph.
so yeah, so I guess people can just jump to the main part of the problem rather than reading about who gave who a present.
So yeah, and we
Do
have
we
some more
have
problems.
the eighth problem solved or still we are waiting?
We are still waiting.
Or- We have six problems solved by paradigm shift, by the way. They have solved red black grid finally after three penalties, three incorrect sub- submissions.
Hmm.
So that's good. And we are also 3 hours into the contest. So Yeah, looking pretty good. I mean, this is kind of exactly the timeline I was expecting. Maybe a little bit more number of problems solved at 3 hour mark, but I guess I was expecting probably 7 problems, say, to be solved at the 3 hour mark, or at least 3, 4 teams solving 6 problems.
Okay, so the interesting part about tree election, probably should I spoil it or we can probably wait it for some more time. Like one of the team is close to getting AC on it, and they were also close to getting AC on one of the problems in Amritapuri regional as well. The only difference required in their solution was to change map to an unordered map. They would have got AC on that problem in Amritapuri region. And right now, if they change their vector into some basic string int, then they will get an AC on it. So let's probably like they are close. Like TL is something they are getting, and they are probably close to getting on
Yeah.
it.
So I think we can probably discuss the reason why people might get TLE in this solution, even if they have the correct idea, which is that yeah. So there are two ways
We
of
have one
describing it.
AC on tree election now.
Okay, nice, nice. So I think it has to be them because I don't
Like,
think anyone else was trying.
like what was the code for tree election?
Facelessman 3.0. No? I think
Yeah,
they
yeah.
have an.
So they were the same team. Yeah, those are my juniors. So that's how I know the story of map and another map. Like one of the testers checked it, and yeah.
Right,
So in
right.
Amritapuri regional also they solved 7 problems, and for the eighth problem make it 0. The only change required in their code was to change map int into unordered map int, and that would have achieved it. And the story was similar over here as well.
But yeah, that they can now move on. But we have 8 distinct problems solved,
Right,
and problem H is what? Strange keyboard or something.
right.
Right. Okay.
It's strange that no one has tried it yet. I was
No,
expecting,
no,
yeah,
I think
people
people have
have
tried
tried
it.
it. Yeah,
There's a team which was very close. I was looking at their solution like about say 40, 45 minutes ago before I came on the stream, and they were like, I think they had the right solution, but they have first they were getting TLE runtime error, and now they were getting wrong answer. So I don't know what their status is right now. It was again some Bangladesh team.
okay.
Uh, so we might have the ninth problem also solved very soon.
And we expect last 2 problems to take longer. Like one of them is
Okay, now
geometry
they have a
problem.
TLE. Now they have a TLE.
Okay,
Okay, so they have had all all different kinds of verdicts. They've had
yeah,
runtime error, wrong answer, TLE,
and like
and they've also had compilation error.
so length. We have 2 hours remaining in the contest and 1 hour before the freeze. And whenever
Right.
I'm refreshing this page right now, something is changing over here. The interesting thing on the
So
scoreboard right now is from IIT Madras. Yoruza Forever has also solved 5 problems, and Three of a Kind has also solved 5 problems. And
right.
as happened with IIT Madras in last ACRS finals as well, like IIT Madras Three of a Kind was ranked second, and another team was ninth. And ninth ranked team unfortunately could not qualify for the World Finals because only one team can go to World Finals from a college. And so Eurasia Forever has to defeat Three of a Kind as well, along with making sure that they are in top 10, 15.
Right. What about the IIT Delhi teams? Where are
Yeah,
there?
there was one audit pass team, like the team with name audit failed last year, and they were the first team to
Right,
not
right.
make it. And
Are they not participating? Let me
like
check.
probably 1 second, let me. Yeah, audit pass is also participating, and they have solved only
Okay.
3 problems so far, and looks
Oh,
like last two
all
problems.
of them. Okay, okay. Maybe not all of their members are on site. Might be.
Yeah, that
Since
might
they've
be the case.
already since they've already qualified, maybe not all of their members are on site.
Yeah,
That
so
can
we
be
don't.
possible.
Yeah, anything can be possible, and yeah, most likely that's the reason. But
Yeah.
probably, yeah.
Okay.
So like probably we can look at the recent ACs on top 10, close to 3 hour mark. Like Paradigm Shift solved Red Black Tree 10 minutes ago,
Right.
and they are the only team to solve 6 problems so far.
Right.
Manzar did not have an AC. They are looks like they are trying minimize median. Up ki bar from IIT
Have we discussed
Kharagpur.
minimized medium? We have not, right?
No, we haven't even discussed the statement yet.
Right. Yeah, the statement only.
Yeah, Leaf Papad from IIT Bombay has also solved 5 problems. Fifth problem just now. And minimize median is the recent AC. And
Okay. So I think
Jagu's boils. Yeah,
amongst these problems, probably minimize median and red black grid are the ones that are being solved the most. And then we have
so probably we can also discuss the problem statement of minimize median for now.
right. Yeah. Let's discuss the statement. Maybe I can go over the statement. So basically, you have an array of length n, and every value of the array is between 1 and m, and you are given that n is odd, and it will be clear why n is odd later. And you are also given an array cost of length m again, and you want to reduce the values of this array such that eventually the median of the array is as small as you can make it, while uh, incurring a cost of at max k. Right, you're given k also in the input, and in one operation you can do the following: you can pick any index, and if the value is ai at index I, you can also choose any integer x between 1 and m, and you can replace ai by x, floor of ai by x. And for that you have to pay a cost of cost x, right? For every x from 1 to m, there's a cost for applying an operation where you choose that particular x, and you can apply the operation at any index, and you have to reduce the values of the array in such a way that the final median, after you have applied all the operations such that their cost does not exceed k, that median is minimized. That's why the problem name is minimize median. And yeah, so the constraints are all 10 to the 6, n and m are both 10 to the 6, and n is odd so that median can be properly defined. That's the only reason why n is kept odd. For n equal to even also, you can solve this by, you know, using some definition of the median, either the left median or the right median or the average over two, whatever you want to use. But to keep it clean, we have kept n odd. Yeah. So yeah.
Like I tried testing it with some wrong submissions yesterday, but I still don't know how to solve it, and I haven't looked at it yet. So probably
Right.
that you will have to say the solution of it later.
Right. So
Probably,
I guess once we have, well, let's just skip the solutions for now, and maybe we can discuss the solutions later.
probably we can discuss the solution of coworkers now. I guess
Yeah.
people might have thought of it.
Right. I guess, yeah, we can go over the solution. And Aryan, maybe you can
Okay, I will go ahead with it.
go ahead with the
The fun
solution.
fact of this problem is all the problem statement asks to find the maximum level of loyalty. It does not matter what choices different people make. The answer is always constant.
Yeah.
So,
So that's it.
you
That's
can
the
just make
solution.
any assignment over here and you can find it. And if you try to prove it, you can even solve it without making an assignment over here. Like the idea
Okay.
is let's call B as the number of pairs who are friends, C as number of pairs who are enemy, and A as the number of pairs who have chosen only one. And M is the number of edges. Then what we know is sum of A, 2 times sum of A plus B would be sum of all TIs, because that corresponds to number of choices people have made so far. And if you look at A plus B plus C, one second. A plus B plus C would be NC2. Pair of, one second. What we
Yeah.
need is
So
number.
basically, a little bit of algebra can help you figure out that no matter what you do, the answer would be the same. No matter what choices you make, the answer
The
would be
idea
the
is what we need is B minus C. We can add A both sides. Then it will return A plus B minus A plus C or something like that. And yeah, I just forgot the calculation right now. But yeah,
same. Yeah.
that's the
But
crux of this
it's not.
problem. And
It's not very difficult. That's why it's just the third hardest, like third easiest problem of the set. It's not very difficult to prove that the answer will always be the same, no matter what choices that these workers make.
yeah, and
Yeah.
the teams at the top have realized this fact and just coded this one. And
Yeah.
probably the teams, some teams might
How
have
many
made some
solves
assignment.
does this problem have? Half or It's 70% or
Oh, 55. We have 60
okay.
teams.
Okay, so it has been solved more than XOR Dice actually. Nice.
Yes. So I guess
So
we
this is
have
the
discussed
second
the
easiest
solution of second easiest.
problem.
I guess we have discussed the solution of four easiest problem now. Basically all problems with more than 10 ACs right now.
Yeah. And then there's a huge jump almost like always from 31 to 3 on minimize median. Yeah. Wait, this is old because this says pre-election has been solved by 0 users, 0 participants.
Okay, so someone from IIT Delhi, Harisam Sharma, mentioning that audit part did not allow us to qualify for Asia West and did not participate themselves too. Like the story for him goes like this: like he was probably fourth or fifth in Amritapuri, and like
Right,
his team was the second best team among all the teams from IIT Delhi.
right.
And the reason, like if audit pass fail would have qualified is in the last World Finals. Like they were first team to not qualify, and they
Uh-huh.
were the only team to solve same number of problems with at least one team have qualified. So they lost out on
Right.
penalty by 1 hour or so. Like all the other teams at least did not qualify by a problem. They lost by 1 hour. So that was the reason they came to this. They like most of the teams who have qualified just skipped this season, apart from three
Hmm.
of a kind. And Audit Pass also took part here. They won the Kanpur regional, qualified for the World Finals, and now they are not over yet as well.
So, right, right.
So
Interesting.
So probably we can see what all problems statements we have discussed so far. Red black grid
Yeah.
has been done. Intersecting path is remaining, and minimize median has been done. And tree. One second. This let me. Among all the tree lessons. So among all the problems which have at least one AC, intersecting paths is the remaining one. It also has an interesting story, like how did we came up with these problems. And Jatin is the setter again. So Jatin, would you like to say?
Okay. No, I was just looking at this team name, which is two Golu, one Tonu.
Okay.
So,
One second.
so the team name is two Golu, one Tonu.
But where is the team name?
Actually, it has to be on the second page. Yes. No, no, it's two, like the numeric two.
Oh, two. Okay, two Kulu, one Tonu. Yeah. From NITCC.
No, so yeah, I think it's. I don't understand why this team from Bangladesh is getting time limit exceeded on the strange keyboard problem, which is still unsolved. They have so they had their runtime error submission like about an hour ago, and they have just been facing penalties ever since. And I looked
Okay.
at skimmed through the solution, and it looked perfectly fine to me. Of course, I didn't see the exact details, but it was
So like,
like they were using the right ideas that were required.
so
But
probably we might spoil it, but just for the clarification, are they
yeah.
using try or are they trying something passing or
So now I think they no they their latest submission is at 2:1, so 12 minutes ago on this problem itself. Strange keyboard
and like
itself.
so have they implemented a try or they are working with one?
They have implemented their
Okay.
so their solution was also seemed correct to me. The solution from 1 hour ago. That's why
Okay.
it's sad. I may be missing something. Maybe they are actually doing something wrong,
Okay.
but hope they are not just missing out on a some corner case or some silly mistake or something.
Mhm. So this is the leaderboard right now. Looks like there are no changes at the top.
Right. Yeah. So we were discussing this problem statement. We haven't discussed the statement yet, right?
Right.
Right. So let's discuss the problem statement first. Uh, we have we have a tree with n nodes numbered 1 to n, and you have to maintain a set S, and this will be a set of paths. You have to insert or delete some paths from S, or insert into S or delete from S some paths, and you have to maintain this number which is equal to the number of pairs of paths that intersect with each other. And two paths intersect with each other if they share a common node, common vertex. Okay. And yeah, that's the problem. If you in every query you are given two integers u and v that are endpoints of a path p, and if that path p is already in the set, you have to remove that path. If it's not in the set, you have to add it. And you have to after every query you have to answer how many pairs, unordered pairs of paths are there that intersect with each other.
Okay, and
And
how did you came up with this problem?
right, so this problem actually I came up with a different uh, problem, which is not to count the number of intersection, but just tell if there exist two paths that intersect with each other. If the answer is 0 or greater than 0, just do that. That was the original problem that I came up with. And the reason I came up with it is that I was solving some, in fact, the last div1 E or something. And there I had a different solution than the intended solution, which used this idea.
Is this the one? Bus routes?
Which one?
Bus routes, the problem statement?
Bus
Or
routes. Yes.
yes.
So this is the same problem. Here you have bus routes, and you have to answer if given these routes from every node, you can reach every other node using only two bus routes. And a bus route is a path in this tree. So basically, you have to choose one path and then another path that intersects with this path. And yeah,
Yeah, so Jatin
so
has some
basically,
different solutions to this
right.
problem, and it was nowhere mentioned in the announcements and tutorials. And we were
Right. So
missing on one
I
data
don't,
structure problem.
I haven't really like read the tutorial in detail or something, or the comments even. But yeah, and not that the solution is not very same for like it's just one tiny idea that is used in both these problems. So that's how I came up with just telling whether there are two paths in a set that intersect with each other or not. And then Aryan suggested that we use the total number of intersections instead of just
Yeah,
uh,
and how I came up with this was also inspired by my D1D solution for the same problem, where I was maintaining two sets. I was adding something on one, and I have to count some value over there and remove value as well. Support both add and end operations. So my idea was whenever you are adding something, just count number of pairs in existing set which intersects with this and maintain a count variable. When you are removing, you can do the same. So pretty much we can say like we solved two problems in last day one and picked up
right,
some bits of it and we were able to produce it.
right. But this problem is actually much simpler than probably both those problems. Or I
Right.
haven't really read the driven D problem, but this problem is quite standard really. Uh, Probably the most standard problem in the set. Other problems are not that standard. Maybe
If we
strange
exclude
keyboard,
FF,
maybe not
if
as
we
common.
exclude coding FFT over here.
Right, of course. Yeah, so maybe this and probably strange keyboard is a little bit standard, but other problems are not
So
so
like
common.
on
Yeah.
the code forces
And
announcement,
again,
I
this
have
problem
mentioned
has
that. Yeah, okay, probably you can continue first.
what have you mentioned?
Yeah, I was just mentioning that on the contest announcement, I mentioned some of the problems may have subtasks, so choose problem solving order wisely. But what I did not mention over there was, although you can solve the subtask, but you won't get any points for them. And to
Right,
solve this problem, one has to solve three different standard problems and then combine them together.
right. So the basic idea is to kind of
Probably,
find the condition when two paths intersect. That's it. If you
and
can
then
figure that out,
maintaining those problems, right?
the rest of the part is quite standard. That's the data structures part that you have to use. And it also has an HLD based solution, which I think most teams are implementing and failing if they use like you know heavy data structures like lazy propagation or something. if you just use BIT, it would pass even with HLD with n log square and complexity. But the intended complexity is n log n, and yeah, and that again uses BIT only. Just point updates and range queries on a BIT. That's it.
Yeah, and like often most of the times you don't need HLD. Like what I have seen is you learn to like there is a blog by Adamant on code sources like HLD plus path queries in one segment is something like that.
Right. I
And
think
if you
nowadays everyone uses that. So,
like
so earlier, so the idea basically is that you can order the children such that the heaviest child always comes first, right? And then if you do a DFS, you would see that all the uh, nodes of a chain in the HLD decomposition, all the nodes of a chain will appear one after the other because the first child is itself the heaviest child. So in the DFS, you would always go to the first child first. So yeah,
and yeah, once someone reads it, like people most of the time avoid coding HLD and they try to do something they can do with Euler tools or that. And that removes extra log and factor from the solution over here.
right. So I just got a comment from Nishank who says that actually the problem that I was talking about, strange keyword on which these guys are getting a TLE, they have some high complexity. They have some unintended complexity. That's why they're getting a TLE.
Okay.
So
That's
we have not
better
covered this
than
problem.
not getting AC with correct complexity.
Right, right, that's better, and it's very easy to convert. In my opinion, it's very easy to convert that unintended complexity into the intended complexity for this particular problem. So they are anyway very close. Okay, so uh, yeah,
So like
we
I will
have
assume that in last 1.5 hour at least change keyboard would also be solved. And the
right,
hardest problems in the set are A and B, this tree and perfection.
right, and also sometimes what matters is that even if these problems might not be so hard, the last two problems, but if other problems are also decently hard, since teams don't get enough time to attempt these problems, they don't get any solves in the end. And it might reflect that the last two problems are very hard. That's why they got unsolved. They went unsolved. But the reason might also be that the other problems were not so easy either. The problems that were intended to be easy were not so easy, and that's why people didn't get enough time to solve the harder problems. Because, for example, I don't think this tree, for example, is very difficult. It's geometry. That's why it's difficult. That's otherwise it's not
It's difficult for the problem setters, not for the
right.
participants.
So but you have to try it. But if if you look at other teams solving other problems and you have only 1.5 hours left, I don't think anyone would try this problem before other problems, right?
Right.
Because other problems already have solves, and this doesn't. And this is a geometry problem. Uh, maybe teams can try perfect strings, and that might be a good idea because if they solve it, you can solve it in like 5-10 minutes. Code it in 5-10 minutes once you have solved it on paper, right?
Like a
So
joke on Indian regionals is you don't need to practice geometry to qualify for the world finals because problem
right,
setters
right,
themselves don't know geometry. And like it was pretty much the case for this as well.
that's true.
This problem was submitted by Jaran, like who proposed it when we made a call for problem setters. And we had only one tester, Nisank, who even tried to code something and he was able to verify things over there. Like
Right,
no
yeah,
other tester setter does this problem over here.
right.
So and like we are seeing the same thing with participants as well.
Do we have seven? No. Okay, we don't
Um,
even have the second six.
like last time when I was commenting on Acerus on Twitter with one of my college seniors, Siddhartha, like there were way too many changes on top 10 in our 3 to 4. Like after 4 hours, we just froze it, but it looks like nothing is changing over.
So what are your predictions at this point, are you? Uh,
Like
who do you think is going to win, and how many problems?
Like, okay, first we can predict like which all problems will get solved, and
Yeah.
I
So I think
expect Saints keyboard to get solved.
definitely.
And
I don't see a world where this problem doesn't get solved, especially when one of the teams is so close. Like this has to be solved.
and regarding this tree, I don't expect anyone to make any submissions on it. Like people will
Same.
rage quit it because they have many submissions.
Same.
Like, but code for perfect strings is short, and if someone has done
It's
some Olympiad
50-50, I
mathematics,
guess.
yeah, 50-50. So
Hmm.
although we were expecting it to be the hardest problem, but there is a non-zero chance that a team might solve it.
Definitely. And this tree definitely seems a zero chance.
Yeah,
Unless someone is a geometry fan in some team,
right.
uh, which is quite improbable, but not impossible.
Yeah, like we do have it sometimes. Like even in
Right.
regional slice and geometry problems like this, gets only one ACM. That's because the person who was solving it loves solving geometry problems.
Right.
So, and now coming back to this part, like we have already discussed the difficulty order of the problems, and
Right.
my expectation is I won't see looking at six right now in 1.5 hour. Definitely don't see any team solving 10 or 11 problems, and we might have at max one team who solves nine problems, and
Right. Right.
in the last hour we will have two to three teams at least solving eight problems.
Yeah. So my prediction is almost similar. I think first would probably be nine, maybe not. 50% chances that first team solves nine problems, and 50% that first team gets eight problems. And yeah, the rest two, three problems on eight, two, three teams on eight problems.
And then seven, at least seven, I believe
Yeah.
should be would be required
Before
for this
freezing,
to recover.
seven should be there. Yeah,
Yeah,
seven should be there. But it might not happen because there is only one team on six. If there were four teams on six, it would
right.
have been like
Yeah,
almost for sure that some team gets seven by the chunk list freeze.
and
But
last year
now,
10 teams qualified, so probably at least top 10, 12 will qualify, and in that case, team might make it with six problems as well.
yeah. But the good thing is that at this point in the contest, they have so many choices uh, that they can focus on, and none of those choices is bad. Like at least the four, like for example, if you look at paradigm shift, they have two choices now, which are solved by other teams, and none of them are bad to look at.
Right.
None of them are very difficult to solve, both F and G, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so that means that and different members can look at different problems also. So high chances that
Like
paradigm
team may
shift
solve two
solves.
problems at once. Because if
Yeah,
two independent people are working on two problems,
exactly. So I
and
think
if the code
seven
is
we would.
short, in last hour you can get to.
Yeah, because half an hour is a long time actually, and I'm assuming that yeah, seven we would see. It might even happen that some team solves two problems and jumps to seven ahead of paradigm shift.
Right.
Yeah, because imagine a case where a team like, for example, Manzar solves D and then solves one more problem, right?
Mhm. So this is the situation right now.
And at this stage, they probably might be coding some other problem, and some team member would be looking at problem D's printed code, perhaps, right?
Mm. So the thing is, we don't have access to computers of participants, so we can look at what they are doing right now.
Right, right, yeah.
So, okay, I will be back in 2 minutes.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so the problem setter of this is saying like he spent a lot of time even in checker and validator. He's saying like he should have just not written the checker and just give anyone who submitted something on this tree, and that would have worked perfectly fine in the current situation.
Right. Yeah. I guess, but it would be useful when probably use it as a mirror or somewhere else. If we can use the contest
Yeah,
somewhere
so
else, it might still be useful that he has put in so much effort in the checker and validator and the solution itself and the generator. My God, there's so much work in this geometry problem.
right,
If you compare it to my problem, the last problem,
yeah,
it simply generate anything random, and the solution is also quite short. It's
mm,
like at least 10 times difference in effort in preparing. At least
understand.
5 times, chalo, not 10 times, but still,
So,
right?
so we
It's
have
still,
an update regarding audit paths. They are
right,
just competing with only one member.
right.
So, and that's probably the reason why we don't see more races over here. Like his
Yeah,
time is
that was my first guess also.
right.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think their other team members are probably missing on some really nice problems.
So like the audit pass does not loses anything because they have
Ah,
won the Kanpur regional and they have qualified for the World Finals.
right. Let me look at the submissions and see which team is trying what.
Yeah, like
Uh,
the problem is we can even find that by looking at wrongs on keyboard on scoreboard. Like what they are trying for that we need submission, but it looks like everything is a black box for us.
how can we see that? Sorry, I missed
Like
on
for
this.
example, Manzar has seen wrong answers on this, so we know that Manzar is definitely trying minimize medium.
Oh,
BOET
right, right.
has also right wrong over there, and three of a
Yeah.
kind just tried something on edge.
So yeah. So what I wanted to do was to actually look at if they are
Right,
missing something small or if they are very
right.
far away
Probably
from
can
us.
you just start by Madras three of a kind on edge? Like that's the most recent submission over here.
Which problem?
Problem is strange keyboard three of a kind
Okay, nice.
and minimize medium.
So they have a TLE on this problem. Okay.
Like is it the intended complexity? And if yes, is it possible to run it polygon and see like how much time limit would have passed?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Okay. Hmm. They actually have the TLE on the very first test case. Like a small, what is the first test case? I don't remember.
Uh, Scoreboard would be frozen after 25 minutes, and probably we will also start streaming along with that.
Yeah. Uh, just give me 1 second. Yeah, I think they have the right solution. They just need to optimize at least this three of a kind on this problem. I just looked at their submission.
Okay,
So,
looks like faceless man from
so they're
IT.
using map inside the try. Uh,
Mhm.
so maybe
An array
that's
of LAN 26 might suffice, right?
so if they can. I think that might work. But I haven't read in detail. Maybe there is something else that is off also. But this is definitely one thing that they can improve on. And
So scoreboard update is faceless man 3.0 from IIT Kanpur is second right now. Just now they
they
have
solved.
solved the minimized problem.
Okay, right, nice. And they had solved pre-election before.
Three election, they are the only team to solve it right now. So in fact, they have three more problems to look at right now. Red black
Nice,
grid, intersecting path, and strange keyboard.
nice, nice.
So like it might be possible that some team might solve nine problems today.
IIT Patna has 7 penalties on problem D. Problem D, which problem is problem D?
Minimize median, now eight
Minimize
problem.
medium. Hmm.
IIT Manzar has Awekane, who has also represented India in IOI.
This is Anay's team.
Right,
Okay.
and Akami.
Okay, I just looked at the solution again for faceless men, and they have incorrect complexity. They have. Let's actually discuss this problem statement first for
Minimize median,
the problem that we are trying, the strange keyboard problem. I don't think we have covered that yet.
right? Yeah, okay.
Right.
So
So
Japanese again the problem setter for this strange keyboard.
yeah. So in this problem, you have a weird keyboard that has n regular keys and one backspace key. And the backspace key will remove the last k characters of the current string. You are typing something and you have a current string. If you press the backspace key, it will remove the last k characters if there are at least k characters, and otherwise it will do nothing. And there are n more keys, and the ith of those n keys just appends si to the end of your current string. Right. So you can either append si for some I from 1 to n, and you can press backspace and delete the last k characters of your current string. And using this, you need to form a string t, and you need to find the minimum number of key presses that are required to form the string t. Okay, and the constraints are, you have to pay a little bit of attention to the constraints if you want to solve this problem. And this is what I think this IT Kanpur team has missed. That here we have we have constraints on the sum of SI that don't exceed 10 to the 6. We have constraints on the sum of length of T that don't exceed 5,000. But we don't have any constraints on the sum of lengths of K. And their solution, I just looked at it, is K square per test case. And K can be 5,000 in every test case. So it's 5,000 square into 100, which is 25E9, right?
Okay.
And that obviously doesn't fit in the time limit of 1 second. So that's why they are missing out. Maybe they have missed that it has 100 test cases, and they thought that k square would be fine because there is a similar constraint on the sum of k over all test cases to be less than equal to 5,000. So that they need to fix.
Okay, right.
So that's
And like it's funny because recently I have seen a day one where there was no constraint on sum of n m, but m was up to 1 is 6,
right,
and half of the people in D1 got a TLE on it in test case, and even the
right.
setters missed it in the pretest, and it was added someone using hack, and only last two test cases of system test contain that test case.
Maybe we can also explain this with a sample, perhaps the problem statement, if that can help.
Okay,
So
so okay,
just
yeah.
to just to
So if
explain
we
the
look at
statement a bit more.
like
Yeah.
the target string we want is A B C D E, and whenever you press a backspace, like last three characters get erased, and there are only two keys on the keyboard. They can either append ABC or DEFGH over there. So possible way to create this string is to first type ABC by clicking one key which corresponds to ABC, and then clicking a second key which contains DEFGH, and then if you press a backspace, it will remove last three characters, and we would be left with ABCDE.
So
And
yeah, so you need to minimize the number of key presses that you make. Yeah,
okay,
okay.
someone in the comment section was asking, "Our team's getting TLE on D. I don't see why it has such less also otherwise." And one of the testers checked it, and like almost everyone is getting WA on this one. And as I mentioned, like
Problem D.
yeah, there is floor one,
I
and like
yeah,
as I
right,
mentioned, the only thing I checked was with some wrong solutions only. I still don't know how to solve it.
right. So that also this problem also actually has a funny story, but we can discuss this later, I guess. Uh, or maybe we can discuss this now. We don't have any other problem statement left, right?
Probably, if we want to discuss, like we can also discuss the two problems which we expect at this point to remain
Which have
unsolved.
not been solved yet. Yeah,
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 like at least let's complete that. Let's start
right,
with disk tree first.
right. Okay. So are you going ahead or should I?
Okay, I will go ahead with this tree and you can complete perfect streams. So
Sure.
this tree was proposed by Jaren, and he spent a lot of time in this writing a correct validator, checker, and the intended solution, of course. And looks like no one wants to even try it because the other problems that there are way too many problems to solve. So the problem statement goes like you are given n disk in a plane and disk can have different radius. No two disks intersect or touch each other, and we have a sample problem statement as like this is the like here you can see four circles. They have different radiuses and different centers, and they cannot are not touching each other. And our job is to draw n-1 line segments to connect this disk such that there exists a path from any disk to any other disk that only works on circumference or inside the areas of any of the end disks or on line segments. So in the sample, if you look at it, here we are creating line segments which connects one disk to the other, and we want n-1 such disk, and it should be possible to go to any of the place, any of the disk using either going through disk area or on the lines. So if you look at it as a graph problem here, then what we are asked is we are given n nodes. We can connect any two nodes, and it should be possible. The graph should be connected over there, so that it should be possible to go from any node to the any other node. And like this problem so far looks easy, but now the things which makes it hard is there are constraints on how can we draw line segments. Like line segments should have integer coordinates only in the first quadrant, like from 0 to 1e9. Line segments can touch or intersect each other. Okay, any line segment can touch or intersect any at max any two disks, and two line segments cannot intersect, cannot touch, and the only exception is they can share an endpoint together with them. And input format is you are given an end and the center of the circle, disk, and the radius of the disk. And in output, we have to first print whether if it's yes or no, like, and if it's possible to print it, then we should share the endpoints of all the n minus one segments. I believe the answer is always yes, but coming
Yes.
up with the construction is the hard part over here.
Yeah. So yeah, so this is again a very nice problem. I really liked it. And maybe we can. Have you already discussed this perfect strings or?
Now, I don't think we have discussed it yet, so we
Right,
can
right. Okay,
discuss
so
that.
I can go over the statement for this thing. So basically, you have an integer n and an integer c, and c denotes the size of a character set sigma. You want to create strings of length 2n, where all the characters lie in this set sigma, and a string is called perfect if it satisfies the following condition. That is that its 2n indices can be partitioned into n pairs, right? Such that you can make a pair I comma j if and only if si and sj are equal. That the characters at indices I and j are equal, and every index should be a part of exactly one pair. And there can be no crossing pairs. For example, which means that there can't be an I comma j and k comma l, which are two pairs, such that I and j cross k and l, which means that I less than k less than j less than l. So there can be no two such pairs in this pairing that we find. And if we can partition the string in such a way, then it's called a perfect string, and we need to find, given n and c, which is the size of our character set sigma, how many strings exist of length 2n that are perfect, and we have to output that modulo someone. And
Yeah,
yeah,
we can go to samples as well.
right. Yeah, and if you look at the sample, the second test case is n is equal to 2 and c is equal to 2, which means that there are two characters, and let those characters be a comma b, right? And we have to make strings of length 2n, which means we have to make strings of length 4, such that we can partition as required. And you can have a look at these examples. For example, if the string is a, we can partition we can match 1 with 4 and match 2 with 3, and there are no crossing pairs. We can also match 1 with 2 and 3 with 4, and there will still be no crossing pairs, right? And similarly, if it's ABBA, then we can match 1 and 4, and we can match 2 and 3, and there are no crossing pairs. So that's how a perfect string is defined, and we need to count how many perfect strings are there.
Like the problem has an unusual constraint that n and c is less than 27. Generally, it's 1e5, 1e6, or direct 1e9 and 1e18. So, any reason to keep them 1e7?
Right. So the reason is that there exists a solution which is like halfway through of the intended solution, where you can actually just bash it using FFT at some point. You can find some polynomial inverse, and you can. So it's like half of the solution. The rest half figures out how to avoid that, how to avoid using FFT. So so 10 to the 7 is just so that I can cut out those FFT solutions.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we could have had 10 to the 6.
So,
It
the
should have been fine.
intended
But
solution is linear, right? Order of
yeah, so
n.
intended solution is O of n.
And is it possible to solve in order of 1 for
Uh,
hysteresis?
I don't know if it is.
Okay. Okay. And yeah, okay. And yeah, like I also tried solving it. So the way I did it was I had that FFT solution, polynomial inverse and everything. Now
Yeah.
Jatin was like, now cut off that log n factor as well. And I tried doing that, but I'm a bit weak on combination and all. So I ended up searching some series on OEIS to get some coefficients, and like that's the last crucial part for this one.
Right.
So like one advantage with on-site regionals is people can't use OEIS.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was actually adamant on using this in an on-site regional only, because if you use it in some online contest, uh, then someone can Google using OIS. And not you might not even have to come up with the FFT solution first and then OIS. You can just
Like
OIS the original answers, and then you can figure out what the generating function is on by going on OIS.
Like the when I was doing something, I had first order n square dp solution over here,
Yeah.
and then I needed some coefficients over there, so I searched those coefficients and I just guessed some formulas
So
based on.
what I'm saying is, instead of those coefficients, you can also search for the answers. Just solve this problem for n comma c and then input on OIS, and you
Okay,
can
is it
actually find.
available?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
it is available. I mean, of course, I found it after I had created the problem, but then I was sure that okay, I cannot use this in an online contest at all because that would defeat the purpose entirely.
okay, and we have one update on rank list as well.
Okay, nice. Do we have 7? Okay, no.
Now we have 6. Manzar has solved minimized median after 8
Shall
WS.
finally.
Finally, and we the rank list would be frozen after 7 minutes. So
Wow.
let's see if someone. And the
Nice.
now the thing which Manzar did last time was
What is paradigm shift? Okay, paradigm shift has no submissions.
so,
Would be nice to know which problem they are trying, but we
uh,
don't have anyone on site, I guess. Or we have Vichitra, maybe we can ask him.
like let's not disturb the participants over there.
Yeah, that's
So,
also
like
okay.
I remember Subham Jain getting annoyed at photographers in Amritapuri reasoning because the scoreboard was already frozen. They were trying to solve one problem, and photographer came in, disturbed them. Hey, just give me 2 minutes. We want to click a photo, and he was like, just leave it. Allow us to solve it, then you can take our photo on the stage. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it looks like BOET is trying minimize median. Looks like minimize
Uh,
median is a favorite problem after teams have solved 5 problems.
right, right.
And the reason I see
I think
is
overall
it's
it's a
way too
difficult
easy
word.
to come
I
up
had
with a solution which will work. It looks like it will work, but it does not work. So that's why everyone is getting WS over it.
Oh, really?
Like
We can really do this.
the solution which I tried for minimize median was something like this. Let cost be the function. Let's first normalize it. Find the cost which makes divide by at least I. Like cost I is minimum possible cost to make a move from I to M anyone.
Mhm.
And to find that we can first use serialized loop to find for each cost adding them and then taking a suffix minimum. Once
Right,
we know that, the next idea is to binary search on the possible median.
right,
And
right.
for each number, like we can first delete the second half of the array to begin with. Like we can always insert that. Or is it a wrong assumption?
Yeah, I think the binary search solution is
Binary
completely
search,
correct.
no, like my first assumption is we can delete the second half of array and we can just keep smallest n by 2 floor C values.
Delete. By delete, you mean make them all zeros.
We sort a dot resize n plus 1 by 2.
That means that you are making the second half zero, right?
I am just deleting the second half. Like I don't really care about it. My idea was
Okay, yeah. So you can of course do that, right?
okay.
Obviously. Uh, I don't know, but what you have to do is you have to make, if you're binary searching on the median, you have to make at least half of the elements less than or equal to the median, right?
Yeah.
So just choose the smallest half, and you want to make all of them less than equal to the median, and the other half you ignore. That's what you mean, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that should work. That is correct.
Yeah. So and then I was trying like finding for each element finding the minimum element that should be multiplied to it and adding the cost to it. But what I see was it was working incorrectly. Bug I had was probably for calculating the value of j, the minimum number which I should divide a number by to
What
get
One
less
second.
than
So
equal.
what you are calculating is what is the minimum cost of making y using some product of x1, x2, xt or something like that, or something.
No, I can probably just share my submission if
Right, right.
people are interested because that was the easiest part which I realized and it's unfortunately wrong and I did not try optimizing it and I believe team might be trying the same thing. The problem was one second, minimize median rate. Okay. Is my screen? Yeah, this was my solution, which I tried during testing. Like
Just give me
first, it takes input, it sorts and just forgets about the second half,
okay.
and then it's calculating minimum possible cost to get a particular product,
So
which
that's
is
what I
just
meant. That that's exactly what you have to do. You have to find the minimum cost of getting a product.
right.
This
And
solution
then
is
the next thing I did was to take this minimization.
yes.
I'm not
That is
sure we can
this
do.
seems correct to me.
Okay, then the next idea was to binary search over here and check if mid is possible. And to check if mid is possible, I was just calculating, and
I think
it's
this is correct.
possible.
Maybe
It's possible
you have
that
missed.
this part is wrong over here. I haven't
So this
tried
might be
it.
possible. The seal floor and all of that might be a little tricky here, but you that's what you have to do. That's the intended solution. You have to
Yeah,
find the minimum cost of a given product so
and
that
like what I
because
did not try
the property
was
that you're using, that floor of x by a by b ka floor is equal to floor of x or ab, right?
okay. Okay, and the other thing
So
which if I had time, what I was would have tried doing was binary searching for the minimum cost, like J over here. Like what we definitely this is basically a J such that J into X is less than equal to mid, right?
right. So that's what you have to do. I think this is correct. But you also have to do one more thing. This thing that you have done, cost j is equal to min cost j comma cost j plus 1. You also probably have to do it before pre-computing these sieve-like costs. I'm not certain, but probably you
Like
also have to do
I
this.
am doing this first, and then I'm binary searching it.
What I'm saying is that when you are finding the suffix minimum of costs after the sieve, you also have to do that before the sieve, I think.
Let me just try it out once.
I guess you have already done that.
No, I did not try it once.
But most
I was assuming
maybe
that
not. Maybe
first
this
part,
is not required. But
and
maybe
like
what you're missing is that no, you have to take the suffix minimums later also.
it's W, I believe. Okay, let me do
But maybe you're also missing something else. But I can tell for a fact that this is intended that you have to find the minimum cost for every product, and then you have to figure out. Yeah, this is
yeah,
fine.
right.
But
So
maybe you
probably
can look at
adding a binary
my
search
solution.
over here can also work if one
But
does not.
let's skip this for now because we are very close to ranked list being frozen.
Right,
And
yeah.
let's see what's happening on the scoreboard. Do we have a 7?
Like
Okay,
looks
no.
like there were some changes. Like when I refreshed some teams. Like
Okay.
let's see if someone has just or some. Okay, looks like there are no changes in top 10 at least. And the rank list is frozen, I believe. Okay, yeah, oh no. So rank list is frozen. Like,
Let me answer a clarification. I get that.
okay. Okay, so rank list is frozen now.
Okay, so no team with 7 problems before the rank list freezing.
Right. Yeah.
I guess the problems are a little bit tricky this time. Even if you have the correct idea, it's taking some time to get
Yeah, like we were
everything
actually expecting
correct.
this problem set to be easier than Amrita Puri set, but it
No,
looks like
I was definitely not expecting it to be easier than Amrita Purisa.
okay. Like
Uh,
at least one of the tester had that. It might be because like he was the only one who tried this tree and was able
yeah,
to solve it. So, so rank list is frozen now. So I guess we will probably stop the stream in next probably 5 minutes at max. Okay, looks like the person who was asking like why teams getting PLE instead of WA. He also mentioned that the solution which I said is something he was trying to. But yeah, there are some few which more to be solved in minimize media now.
Yeah. So should we just uh, leave now?
Yeah, I guess we will leave it.
Yeah.
Just we can just give a sort of like paradigm shift has solved 6 problems. So at the after 4 hours mark, and we don't know what's the next problem they are trying. They have at least two more approachable problems: tree direction and intersecting paths. And for them, it should be possible to even solve strange keyboard. Faceless man from IIT Kanpur. Okay, yeah, that's the correction. Like Slayer from DIACT just solved tree direction just before it was frozen. So like they have solved a problem which only two teams have solved so far. So they have essentially three different problems to try it right now. Red black tree, intersecting path, and strange keyboard. Almost everyone has it. Manzar from IIT Patna also has red black tree and tree direction to try out for, and they were the first team to solve intersecting paths. And Upkibar from IIT Kharagpur, like once it's five, almost everyone has four problems to try out next. And okay, yeah, and intersecting paths, I believe is probably easier one. We added it as a DS problem, but I don't know why only three teams have tried it so far. It might be the case that teams are trying to solve it via HLD, and it will take some time to code it, and they may try it out in the last hour. Tree elec- tree election is a DP on trees problem, a bit harder, but the code is short for this one. And probably Jatin can mention about red black grid ones. Like, does it requires a lot of code on
Yeah,
for
I
this?
think red black grid. It depends on the solution. My solution was implementation heavy a bit, but the tester solution was clean, shorter. So it depends. Maybe you need some teams would have implementation heavy solutions, some would not.
And three problems are unsolved so far: disk tree, perfect string, and strange keyboard. Among these, we expect disk tree to remain unsolved. There is a 50-50 chance that one of the team might solve perfect string if
Now I
they look
don't
at
think that it will
okay.
be solved actually
And like
because
we expect
there are
at least
every team has at least three more problems to solve, and it
so
is kind of
it's
too
not
risky. At
optimal to try a problem which does not have any CPC.
exactly at this point, it's not optimal. If they already have some result and they're coding, they might get it in the next 5-10 minutes. But otherwise, it's better to just leave it and focus on other problems at this
And
point.
strange keyboard has zero solves so far, but we expect some aces on it, and like some of the teams are close to solving it.
Oh, there's another AC on tree election. Who solved it?
Like
Right. Is this
DIACT,
the yeah? This is the frozen rank list only, right?
yeah, no, that I'm not sure, but yeah, this is frozen, and this was
Yes.
AC two
Okay.
minutes before
Silent.
this Slayer.
Yes, nice. Okay. Nice. Nice. Nice.
And I guess probably we will stop sharing it, and since the scoreboard is frozen, and
I
we
hope
will
we get
have
some better gradient than last year. Last AWF we had a lot of teams on 8 problems, right? Or was it Amrita?
the similar was the case for ACF as well. Like around 6 to 7 teams solved 8 problems.
Right. Right.
Last two
Right.
problems
I
were
think it was
unsolved,
last AWF.
and 10 teams solved
EU.
7 problems.
Yeah. So hopefully this year we can have a clear winner.
Yeah.
Uh, Let's see.
And in that problem set, Audit failed, Audit passed this time, was the only team who solved 7 problems but did not qualify for the World Finals. But yeah,
Wait, how many teams qualified?
so like 10 teams
15?
from that contest qualified, leaving apart regional winners.
Okay, right.
So it was until top 16 or something like that. So
Okay, I
this
guess
time,
let's leave now. It's time to say goodbye.
goodbye. Thanks everyone for joining, being with us. Like we
And
might have a similar stream next time, just to share like how was our stream or any feedback comments over there. And thanks a lot, everyone.
yeah, thanks
And
everyone. Thanks
we
for
will share the
joining.
rank list once the contest is over and results has been declared.